Okay, so we are creating a watercolor beach scene. Now, for this painting, I am using watercolor paints. I'm going to start with a wet on wet technique. So I'm wetting my entire piece of watercolor paper. You're going to want to use watercolor paper, the thickest paper you can find. Then I'm just going in with my paint and I'm just using a nice and wet brush, nice and wet paint, and really just kind of letting that bleed and run together. I'm using blue. I'm using a little bit of red mixed with the blue to make purple. And I'm using a little bit of yellow in there too. So I'm doing this paint with all primary colors. So your primary colors again are red, yellow, and blue. And that purple color that I have mixed up is just red and blue mixed together. So now I'm going to go into the ocean. Now, as I paint the ocean, I'm using blue and green. And I switched brushes, but you could do this really with any brush you have at home that's a smaller brush. I'm also using a flat brush. Now you'll notice that the sky was not dry yet. So you can see the ocean line is bleeding up, and that is not what I wanted. So later I'm going to have to go back and fix that because I should have waited until the sky was dry before I started on the water. I'm leaving the white of the paper showing through where I want the ocean to look like it has a white cap wave. So you'll notice that that is the white of the paper showing through, and I have just left that part blank. So I'm just continuing to add more color. Now here is where I've come back after it dries and I'm going to mix up a dark blue. So I just mix blue and a little bit of red in there, and I'm going to go across and straighten out that line. And now that you can see my paper's dry, it's making a nice crisp line that's not bleeding. So it's really important that you wait for that paper to dry. Then I'm just going back in and I added a few more areas. Okay, so I am deciding to go ahead and outline everything with a fine tip Sharpie marker. So I'm just going through and I'm outlining around everything. Now, you'll notice I am just kind of tracing those lines, and it can be a little tricky to decide where to do it, but it's kind of really relaxing once you get into it. So I just carefully traced all of the lines. Now, I didn't trace all of the tiny little circular splatters, but what I did do is trace over all of the big sections. So you will see as I do that.